In this video, we're going to go over some buy-to-let basics. So if you're thinking of buying your first buy-to-let property in the UK, hopefully this video is going to help you out. Hi there, my name's Lee Everett. I've been in the property industry for over 17 years and I've dealt with thousands of properties and transactions. So if you're after the best tips and advice, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon. So when you are buying your first buy-to-let property, the first thing you're probably going to look to get arranged is a mortgage. There's a few differences between a buy-to-let mortgage and a residential mortgage. First one being is the size of the deposit that you're going to have to put down. It's a little bit more expensive if you're buying a buy-to-let. At the time of recording, the lowest deposit that I could find was 20%. However, with that 20% deposit, there are quite a few restrictions. You've got to be a certain age, you've got to earn a certain amount of money, blah, 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 blah. But at the moment, the minimum is 20%. There are more mortgages available if you have a higher deposit. Now, from what I've been looking at, you're probably looking at 30 to 35% is probably the magic number at the moment where you can get a decent interest rate as well. When you are going for a buy-to-let mortgage, you probably want to go for an interest only, which means you're not actually paying back any of the money you've borrowed, you're just paying the interest. That will keep your monthly payments low and your return on your investment higher. Do be aware of these buy-to-let mortgages. There's quite a few add-ons which you would have to pay if you've not done a buy-to-let before and you've just been a first-time buyer where you've had a free valuation and free legals. With buy-to-let investments and their mortgages, there tends to be a quite expensive product fee. You might have to pay for the survey as well. So when you are doing your budgeting, just have a look at those costs and make sure you're aware of them. So a few key things that you'd need to consider when you are going for this mortgage, if you have seen a property that you think may work for you, is the actual return you're going to get. Now, if you are getting a mortgage, your lender will want to see the rent of at least 125% of what your mortgage payment is. So if your mortgage payment is £300 a month, your rent coming in from that property would have to be at least £375. And if it's not, then you shouldn't be buying it anyway. From my research also, some lenders will want you to have an income coming in as well. From what I've seen, £25,000 seems to be the average sort of income a lender was going to want you to earn. One other thing to consider is if you are going for a buy-to-let mortgage, some lenders will want you to have owned your own home at some point in the past or currently. So if you haven't owned a property before, or don't currently own a property with or without a mortgage, then it may be a little bit more difficult. There are lenders out there who will lend if you've never owned a property before, but the size of the market for that is quite slim, so you might find yourself paying an even higher interest rate. Just a quick thing in terms of buying a buy-to-let property, you need to make sure that the energy performance rating is an E or above. If you're looking to go and get a mortgage on a property which has a rating of F or below, then the surveyor, when they go around to the property, isn't going to give you the mortgage on it. So look on the estate agent's details, see what energy rating it is, and then look at the EPC if it is below an E rating, and that'll give you some idea on costs and recommendations on how you can increase that level. Again, if it's not above an E or above, then you're not going to be able to rent it and you won't be able to get the mortgage. So we're going to go over some additional costs now, in addition to your mortgage product arrangement fees and surveys. One of the big ones is going to be if you already own a property and you buy an investment property, you're going to get stung for the additional stamp duty land tax, which is an extra 3% on top of the purchase price of what you would have paid anyway. So bear that in mind, because that, depending on the level that you're buying at, it could be quite high. After the property is completed, you've got a few other bits and pieces you're going to need to think about. The main one being is, are you going to be looking to employ a letting agent to find and manage the tenancy for you, or are you going to do it on your own? Doing it on your own is by far a cheaper option, by all means, but I would warn that a letting agent knows all of the legislation and the regulations that you as a landlord are going to need to adhere to. Things like making sure your EPC is still relevant and up to date and valid, gas safety certificates, the new electrical certification that came in 2020, making sure they get the right to rent booklet, all things like that, which maybe as a first-time landlord, you're not going to know you need to actually have, where if you employ an estate agent or a letting agent to do this for you, you should be fully covered. You've then got ongoing costs like management fees as well. Some agents will charge anywhere between 8 and 12% plus or including VAT, depending on the level of service and that you want from them. I personally would probably go for a fully managed, especially if you're a first-time landlord and you're not local. At least that estate agent, letting agent can look after everything for you. It's going to cost, but if you factor that in your initial calculations when you're finding the right buy-to-let property, you should have accounted for this anyway. You've also got insurances, so you're going to have to insure the building as an absolute minimum. Then it's up to you whether you want to have landlord's insurance, which could cover you for things such as the boiler breaking down, any damage to the property, leaks, anything like that. One which a lot of people don't actually say in YouTube videos is tax. That's a massive outgoing. If you earning a certain amount of money already and you've got an additional money coming in, you're going to have to declare that. Have a little look, speak to an accountant on what your tax liabilities are going to be if you was to buy a property. So with that all being said, is buying a buy-to-let a good investment? I think that buying a buy-to-let property has and probably always will be a steady investment. What you have not only is the monthly rent coming in, hopefully building up and giving you your profit, but also over time, if you hold the property long enough, you've got capital appreciation, so the property value will actually go up in price. So if and when you did decide to sell, not only do you have the money you've had from the rent from all those years after all your costs, you then should have an increase in property price. Now remember, if you've got an interest-only mortgage, you've not paid off any of the money you borrowed. So if you borrowed £100,000 15 years ago, you've still got £100,000 left to pay, but the property price could be worth 20, 25, 30% more, and that is where your profit is. And again, tax, look into capital gains tax, speak to an accountant because you may have to pay tax on the profit you make if and when you do sell a property. So they're my thoughts on a buy-to-let property, whether you should do it in 2021. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have, give it a thumbs up. Any questions or comments, please pop them in the section below. Thank you again for watching. Stay safe and I'll see you soon.